right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill. And there's my guy, Al's brother, Mike DiStefano, a.k.a. Al's brother, riding shotgun for the afternoon. Partsy, it's great to see you on a Friday afternoon.
Thank you.
I agree with, hang on, let me just straighten something out. I agree with Luke. What are we even doing this weekend? I mean, it's over. Is this just for entertainment value, picking these games today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's an 18-week season. You can forfeit and throw away the season if you want. I mean, that is something you guys would probably do. Yeah, if you want to throw it away, go ahead. It's all good to us. I mean, we send our picks in. We have our 3 games. You have your 3 games. Again, we're money-balling this. It's all about the process. And for us, we look forward to getting to the real dance. We've been preparing for the playoffs, and I'm looking forward to this weekend because it's such a focused weekend of football where there's like a handful of games that really mean something and a number of games that don't.
And they all affect each other in some degree.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's going to be fascinating about it. Like, how many quarterbacks aren't playing where other teams need that team to do something? They must be just fuming on the sidelines watching that.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at the Bills, for example, like this game, the Steelers and Ravens. If the Steelers lose that game, there's a strong probability, or win or lose, that the Bills end up in the playoffs. But the Steelers go out and win because the Ravens decide to sit Lamar Jackson, and they go out and they win that football game. I bet you people in Buffalo aren't going to be too pleased about that.
No, and exactly. And this comes up all the time. Like, it's not Baltimore's priority to make sure Buffalo's in a good place.
Right.
Like, they obviously don't care. Baltimore took care of business. And let's face it, if you're the Buffalo Bills, if you had have won some of the games you threw away earlier in the year, you wouldn't even be in this position.
No.
Yeah, so they played themselves into this spot. But, yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is happening, throughout football. Like tomorrow night, you got 2 9-7 teams, Houston, Indianapolis. They're playing for the division. We don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play, though. The Jags are 9-7. The Jags are in a position to win the division. We don't know if he's going to play. And that's not because of load management. It's because he's injured.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, of different stuff that is up in the air. And teams that realize even if they win, they probably aren't going to get in. But if they win and a few different miracles break their way, they still could. But I like the fact that meaningful games are happening on Saturday. I like that they moved Packers-Bears to the afternoon. That's a 4:25 kickoff. And then you got the Bills and the Dolphins on Sunday night, and we'll know where the Bills are at. There's a good chance they've already punched their ticket come kickoff, but it's still a meaningful game because you're playing for the 2 seed. You're playing for the division, and you're playing for a home field. And Luke was talking about that yesterday. You ostensibly could have home field all the way into the Super Bowl if Baltimore loses.
Yeah.
In the divisional game, right? Like if they lose not next week, but the week after that, it could happen. The NFL's been a wild scene this year. The 2nd seed could have home field all the way through. Bills could play 3 home games.
That season flies, man. It seems like yesterday Aaron Rodgers blew his Achilles out.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what it is about the NFL, and I get it, there's only 17 games, but that season flies by, man.
Yeah,
it does.
Like, that guy blew his Achilles out first game against the Bills, didn't he?
Yeah.
4 plays in. Done.
Monday night.
4 plays in,
Ran
and that
out.
seems like 2 weeks ago to me, and now the season's coming to an end. That's incredible.
You think about how that game is now. Like, you look at the spotlight on Buffalo. If they lose this weekend, you can look back in that game. They lost to Zach Wilson's New York Jets
kidding.
in Week 1. Like, that's
Right.
the game that everyone's going to circle if the Bills miss the playoffs.
Absolutely. Wasn't it a punt return in overtime or
Yeah,
something,
sure
too?
was. To
Yeah.
a rookie playing his first game in the NFL. Punt return to the end zone.
There's an example. You win that game, you're not even flexed to Sunday night, probably. You're just playing at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And you're like, we'll figure it out. We're probably winning the division. You hold on to that game against the Eagles before the bye. And every team in the league can do that. I understand that. You can always look back and say that pick cost us, that sack
Sure.
cost us, that punt, whatever. But that's a perfect example where it was so deflated. The Jets have been so awful without him, and the Bills couldn't get the job done. And, I read something yesterday online, and it was a ticket selling app that had this information. So I don't know how accurate it is. But they were suggesting, based on their metrics and how many people are buying tickets down in Miami, that they are projecting 52% of the fans in the stadium on Sunday night will be Bills fans.
Wow.
That Bills Mafia
They
is
travel.
They do travel.
Bills Mafia is going to buy up 52% of the building? That seems impossible.
I agree with you. I mean, and why it should be impossible is because Miami fans should know better. You know where I stand on that city. You know where I stand on the state of Florida, an awful sports state. It always has been. It always will be. And this is another example of
dumb comment. But my question is, isn't there enough people that go, like season ticket holders and regular Miami Dolphin fans that fill that building, where it's like, I don't care how big Bills Mafia is, there's just no tickets available? How do they occupy 52% of the barn?
It's a great question. And again, we'll see if it's true as of Sunday night. There's a very good chance that particular website was saying that what we're sensing from a secondary market, because they could track it, like who's coming from Buffalo, Western New York, whatever it is. But Bills Mafia does travel. Like it's,
of course,
Cowboys fans travel, Steelers fans, Packers
Leafs Nation
fans.
travels too, but they don't occupy 52% of buildings.
Sure they do. You've been down to Buffalo for a game. You've been to Ottawa for a game.
Al's brother, as many fans as there are in Buffalo, there's not 52% Leaf fans.
I beg to differ. Have you been down there? I
25-30, it's not 52.
I went
Ottawa,
to a game,
same thing.
I went to a game in Buffalo last year with the Leafs and Sabres. 60-40 Leaf fans. Easy.
There you go.
I swear.
I don't disagree with you,
because money talks. Money talks, right? Like people are willing to pay the prices. I'm just saying. Go look it up. I don't know.
I mean, that's purely anecdotal. Al's brother personally calculating 18,000 people and splitting 60-40. But I do believe that that's the case in Buffalo. In Ottawa, for sure, dude. When remember when Matthews and Nylander and Marner were first showing up? And then, it got to 2018, 2019, and Ottawa started falling off a cliff. That was 70% Leaf fans.
Yeah.
We have enough people that listen to the show and watch the show in Ottawa that I'm sure can write in and say, we've personally been to a game where there were at least 51% of the building was Maple Leaf fans.
I'm fairly certain, Doug, maybe you could back me up on this if you remember, but one of the Battle of Ontario games that we did, Corwin, when he does his pregame hits, did one on this exact thing, and he said he went through, looked at a photograph, and literally counted the jerseys to find out how many Leaf fans there were, how many Sens fans there were, and I think he came out with a number was 51% in that photo were Leaf fans.
All right, well, there you go. There's another anecdotal, Corwin personally. I love it. We're off and running with projections on what's going to happen on Sunday night, Miami-Buffalo, but we've got Sal Capaccio joining us, Bills beat and sideline reporter for WGR 550. He's coming up later this hour. We'll ask Sal what he's expecting out of the amount of Bills fans that'll make it down to Miami. Is the pressure on Allen? Is it on Tua? How much pressure is on Sean McDermott? You talk about Leafs Nation the other night, that Matthews goal after he scored the OT winner, where he went to celebrate up the sidewall there. It was all Leaf fans on that glass. There's a really cool picture they posted on Maple Leaf social of him, mid fist pump, and it's 15 Leaf fans right behind him. And there were a lot for the Kings game the night before. I'm sure if you live in Southern California, you're a big Leaf fan. That's the 2-pack, right? Go see it twice.
But it's the holidays, too. It's the end of the holidays. I'm pretty sure a bunch of people got together and said, let's fly down to Cali and catch these guys a couple times.
Yeah,
prices of the going to the games is not that expensive. Let's hit up a couple games, and then before we have to go back to work.
Yeah,
a lot of people do that.
That's valid. And I'm guessing, again, Bills fans are probably thinking the same. It's a Sunday night in Miami. Go down to Florida for the weekend. Yeah. Catch the game, come home Monday morning. It's all good. And that has the potential to be a real walk of shame or flight of shame if you're flying home and the Bills get smoked on Sunday and you spent $3,000 on $5,000 on planes, on hotels. Yeah, there's the picture. You can see it up on TV.
That is a great picture.
That's an awesome picture. That's in Anaheim. That looks like Scotiabank Arena, basically.
Yeah.
And that's in Anaheim. That's how many Leaf fans travel, and you see, Jersey guy is all over the road games. You see a lot of jerseys, obviously, down at the Leaf game. We were down there on Saturday. I found interesting was 3 or 4 rows below us was a bunting Leafs jersey guy, and bunting scores for Carolina, and you could tell the guy didn't know what he was supposed to do. He didn't get up and cheer, but he was probably slow clap.
That's
slow
kind of my guy.
That's
my guy.
Yeah. I like that guy. I got a 58.
I've always wondered how people deal with Jersey guy that's not like around anymore or retired. I guess people just say I'm not. Because I've got a buddy. He was with us the other night, Spiro. He continues to buy whatever jersey. Like if it's turnover, he buys and buys and buys, and he's got a zillion jerseys. But the other guy is like, I'm buying the Dan Daou jersey, and that's my jersey for life.
Right.
Or Michael Bunting, and that's my jersey for. That's how I would be. I'm not buying those jerseys up and down.
I'm
Cost
with
you.
you.
A fortune, man.
Like, unless the only way I might look into it, and again, I'm not personally a jersey guy,
is if McDavid shows up
exactly.
someday.
If they're like when Tavares signed here, okay, I'm willing to do that. A massive deadline trade, you get caught up in the hype, or McDavid or something. You're like, all right, I'm willing to adjust on the fly here, but I'm not going to do it because Simone Benoit is now a part of the Leafs.
No,
I'm not going to jump on
buying Simone
that
Benoit
bandwagon.
jerseys.
You're asking for turnover and some trouble.
Yeah, but like Nylander, if he signs that reported 8-year deal, he's around for a while, so you could probably get some wear out of that jersey.
And that legitimately is a part of like marketing and a part of how they look at things in front offices is, their fans, they want their fans to basically buy into a player or buy into the team and the core and have an understanding that those guys are going to be sticking around.
Yeah.
And, that is likely to factor in here with William Nylander. Like if he signs an 8-year deal, like this guy's going to play 1,200 games as a Leaf or so. It's going to really.
Of course it is, Hayes. Of course it's going to be a long tenure, and he's going to get a lot of points. And who knows if he gets the statue in the jersey? But I got to tell you guys, I crunched some numbers before the show.
All right.
Got some tremendous information for
I
us.
like it. TG.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I just wanted to look up a couple things. Two teams who went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year and who I actually believe will return to the Stanley Cup Final, both of them. It would be very rare for both of these teams to return to the Stanley Cup Final. And it's just, we talked about Nylander yesterday and how quality of a player he is, and the money is what it is. But if you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, and if you want to come up with $11.5 million, which is reported what William Nylander is going to get, that's Barbashev, Marchessault, and William Carrier. That's how much money they make.
Yeah.
5
combined.
each for Barbashev and Marchessault, and Carrier makes 1.4. That's 11.4. So there's certain team structures where they do have Mark Stone. Florida's got Barkov at the top, and then they've got Tkachuk at $9 million. But it's also Reinhart and Bennett. Like, who would you rather have, Reinhart and Bennett, or would you rather have William Nylander? So it's almost like you can have a couple guys that make that much money at the top, but then when you throw in another one, it always seems to be it's two players, and the Leafs are going to have four.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about as the difference of having Nylander at that money. You could have a couple other good players. Like, what is William Nylander $6.5 million better than Jonathan Marchessault? And I know he signed his deal a couple of years ago, but he won the Conn Smythe last year, didn't he?
Yeah, we know the answer to that. And that's what is frustrating about all this is I think I can speak for everybody is I wish we didn't have to talk about salary cap and percentages and all that, but it's the nature of the beast. That's what Bettman and the owners decided to do when they locked the players out was make everyone a mathematician. And you have to have a calculator.
Unfortunately, Hayes, it's the biggest part about it.
Is.
There's no loading up and signing.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it. You lose players because you don't have the money. If you overpay guys, it's crushing, and it sucks. But it's a nature of the context of any NHL discussion right now. So William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, they're all great players. Like we don't have to keep saying that because everybody knows it. It's not that you're down on the player individually. It's that we're talking about the cap, and the cap has to be a part of the whole conversation here. And that is what continues to be frustrating about the way the Leafs continue to handle it and the way the Leafs continue to approach it. Because, I had someone send me a note today saying, it's not Nylander. You don't have to worry about that. It's that Tavares was signed. I'm like, do you realize we're going to be having the same conversation about Nylander in 5 years, 6 years? Like if they sign Willie now to an 8-year deal at 11.5, in 6 years it'll be why'd they do that? They should have got defensemen.
Now we're stuck with him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to be cyclical, and it's not Tavares' fault. It's not going to be Nylander's fault. And again, the debate about whether you just get it done and make sure they're here or you knuckle down is what I keep hammering home. And I understand it just continues to come up and come up and come up. But for instance, I think what's become abundantly clear here, if this deal gets done, and it's not done yet, so anything is possible. Maybe the numbers look different, maybe the term looks different. But if it's 8 years at 11.25 or 11.5, the Leafs, I don't believe, were willing to pay him that 3 months ago.
No.
I don't think they were even close to that. So you're telling me in 36 games, albeit 36 of the best games of his career, great games, but 36 games made you say, fine, take the next $2 million. 36 games is going to adjust your plan and your cap for the next 8 years, where it's like, instead of I think you should be 9-5 or 10, it's fine 11-5. 36 games. It has changed that for them. And that's what I'm talking about here with the edges. And again, if a month ago it came out after the Sweden trip, they were going back and forth, Willie signed an 8-year deal at 10 or 10.25. I think the average person would say that's fair for the team, fair for the player. Of course, there'd be people on both extremes saying that's way too much, or it's, they shortchanged him and got less than Marner. But again, a month ago.
Hayes, you're exactly right. I think we had Dregs on early on. He's like, early on when the season started, he's like, don't be shocked if this number's around 9.25 or something like that. And we were all like,
yeah,
maybe that's reasonable. It's more than my Timu Meyer, and it's just 9.25. And then you're right. In 36 games, it shot up $2 million, and it's like you gotta have it,
reportedly. And that's what I keep saying about the team just saying, fine, take it. Like, that's the point I'm making. When it's just like, fine, okay, all right, Austin, 4 years. All right. Like, they never just keep their stake in the ground and say, we can't do that. Like, we evaluate here. And, we'll see where the numbers are at in the end. Go ahead, Alice, brother. I know you want to.
Well, I just wonder, too, like, if you look at Brad Treliving and you look at what happened in Calgary, right? Like, he went through this with Johnny Gaudreau, where they wanted to give him a deal that was outside of his comfort zone before the season started. And then by the end of it, he wasn't comfortable giving the player any money to walk for nothing. I wonder if he learned from that.
Dude, I think they offered Johnny Gaudreau, Al's brother, I think they offered him $10.5 million per year in Calgary.
And he walked.
And he went and signed for whatever he signed for in Columbus. But I'm pretty sure that they offered him big-time money.
I believe they offered him the exact same deal they gave to Huberdeau like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that point, it's a good one, Al's brother. So we keep saying, well, Treliving got burned. He got burned, man. Gaudreau. Shouldn't the lesson be when Gaudreau left, he got way less? That the rest of the league doesn't see it the way you saw it. Yeah. The rest of the league said, I'll give Johnny Gaudreau 9.75. Not giving him 10.5.
Well, Johnny Gaudreau thought the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers were going to get into this bidding war over him. And both of them said, check, no thanks.
And we
don't have the money, and we don't want the player.
He was coming off like a 115-point season in his late 20s, and teams said, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. So, but here, again, we keep talking about lessons. I just don't know who's supposed to be learning which ones.
I'll tell you what. If I had to pick a guy to pick football games with, and there were 3 guys lined up, Al's brother, Bryan Hayes, and Luke Wilson, I would say, Luke, I am doing that. You're on my team. What would you like? What would you like, Partsy?
All right. Well, Luke's coming up in an hour. More picks for this weekend. More on the Leafs in San Jose tomorrow. The World Juniors is over. Mike Johnson will join us in about a half an hour. The Americans end up running away from the Swedes earlier today. And there's a lot cooking, including the Raptors in action in Sacramento tonight. Al's Brothers in here with the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and Bryan Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Luke Wilson in an hour. More picks in an hour. Mike Johnson coming up. The Americans beating the Swedes at the World Juniors today. Leafs back in action tomorrow. Raptors in action tonight. But the Sunday nighter, this is the game to flex. Bills, Dolphins. The Bills will know if they have to win to make the playoffs by Sunday night. And regardless, if they beat the Dolphins, not only are they in the playoffs, 2 seed, they win their division and they get home games. It's pretty wild when you think about it. And to tee up the game on Sunday night, we're joined now by Bills reporter from WGR 550. Here is Sal Capaccio. How you doing, Sal?
Pretty good, guys. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for doing this. We were discussing earlier this hour how many Bills fans are expected to be in attendance on Sunday night. I saw a stat suggesting there could be more than 50% Bills fans at the game on Sunday. What are you hearing and what are you expecting?
Yeah, so Vivid Seats is the company that put that out, they go by their algorithms of where, tickets are coming from, buy, sell, trade market, secondary market, things like that. And they're projecting 52% Bills fans. Now, look, I mean, every year when we go down there are tons of Bills fans. And I would say it's 30 to maybe even 40% sometimes, which is a huge number. I'll believe over 50% when I see it. But it's possible, I guess, because I'm telling you this, guys. We have been getting pictures on social media, people calling us on my show all morning, all day about the planes leaving Buffalo that are packed with Bills fans and even just ones arriving from other places for people that want to go down and see their team. It's going to be crazy.
Well, it's going to be great because it's Sunday night in Miami. The division's on the line. Obviously, Miami is in a position where they know they're going to the playoffs, but you'd think they would have a killer instinct knowing that they could really do some serious damage to the Bills. And when you consider what happened earlier in the year when Miami went up to Buffalo, the Bills laid a beating on the Dolphins. What are you expecting Sunday night? I mean, the Bills are a slight favorite. Their lives could be on the line. We keep wondering, who are these Buffalo Bills? What kind of Bills performance do you expect Sunday night?
Well, typically in these situations, the Bills have played some of their best football when their backs are against the wall, including the last month of the year. That's why they've won 4 straight, including at Kansas City, including against Dallas. Could have been 5 straight if they would have taken care of Philadelphia when they had a chance. But typically under Sean McDermott as well, you go back and look at his history, the Bills are very, very good at the end of the year. They have a great record in December and January regular season games leading into the playoffs. So I think they're going to, play maybe, I don't know if I say their best football, but I think they'll play with some urgency, and you'll see a reflection of that. Now, as far as the Dolphins are concerned, and trying to do their same thing and end the Bills season, yes, that could be possible. We'll know by kickoff what the situation is for the Bills. But the Dolphins do have this playoff spot clinched already, and they're very, very banged up, which is why I think the Bills have another, even more of a chance here to win, because the Dolphins are dealing with a lot of injuries. But from their side of things, they know they're in. They don't have to win to get in. So you wonder if maybe a guy like Waddle, a guy like Raheem Mostert, if they don't, put him out there and push him because they don't want to re-aggravate something and have them not available. I'm not saying that they would throw up the white flag at all, but I think that they probably have to consider that going into this game, whereas the Bills are very healthy, and I think obviously that's a big consideration too.
If this ultimately does turn into a pressure cooker, I'm sure all Bills fans will be focused on one guy, and that's their quarterback, Josh Allen. What do you expect to see out of him? He's had kind of different moments this year. I think the first game of the season, he was talking about, that's what I do. I make the turnovers at poor times of the game. And there's been development from there, and he seems to be returning to the Josh Allen. What do you expect out of him?
Well, he leads the league in touchdowns. I mean, people bring up the turnovers all the time, but he's also in the MVP conversation because he has 40 touchdowns on the season, throwing and rushing. And yes, he turns the ball over sometimes. But if you're going to live with Josh Allen being great and making the plays that no other human beings can make, you're going to have to live with an interception once in a while. He has not thrown more than 1 interception in a game since they changed offensive coordinator to Joe Brady from Ken Dorsey. Now, he also has thrown 1 interception each game except 1 since then. So those things are going to happen. The Bills also have to take care of the ball elsewhere, whether it's Josh or even, James Cook, who's fumbled a few times. The other part of this, though, guys, is he has absolutely owned the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen in his career has thrown for 31 touchdowns and 5 interceptions against the Dolphins. You count his rushing touchdowns, I believe it's 38 to 5 interceptions. It's incredible. I mean, he just plays outstanding against them. He's also a really good primetime quarterback. So all that said, I think Josh Allen, you're going to see one of the better versions of Josh Allen. Plus, let's remember, again, football-wise, aside from all that stuff, no Jalen Phillips, no Bradley Chubb, no Xavier Howard on defense for the Dolphins. And the Bills will have opportunity here, but it will come down to take care of the ball. They can't give opportunities away to Miami. Josh can't make a critical mistake to give them extra opportunities. And as long as they take care of the ball, I think they'll be fine. Now, Josh has been dealing with a couple injuries this week, guys. He's on the injury report with his stinger from last week when he left the game with a few plays left, and also a right finger injury, which is kind of interesting and even scary. But he says he's good to go. There's no injury designation. Sean McDermott says he's good to go, and it won't impact him.
With Sal Capaccio of WGR 550, Bills, Dolphins Sunday night.
Sal, I'm curious to see get your thoughts on what's going on with Stefon Diggs. Like, I was at the game this past weekend, and I didn't see him on the field a whole lot, just 65% snaps. And since the bye week, his production seems to just be completely plummeting. Like, what's going on with Stefon Diggs right now? Is he hurt, or is he getting phased out of the offense? Is this a concern for Buffalo Bills fans?
I'd say it's a concern for Bills fans, but we're all wondering the same thing, media fans. I don't know if it's just something that's going on with Stefon Diggs. I think it is something going on with the offense. Now, it's also interesting that his snap count usage overall has gone down.
Yeah.
So you can't make plays if you're not on the field. But that said, the Bills have explained it by, look, I mean, they want to run the ball more. They're doing better running the ball. He's not involved in a lot of those personnel situations and sets, so he's not on the field as much. They want to get James Cook more involved in the passing game, and Dalton Kincaid, and not have to force it to Stefon Diggs. But at the same time, they know that, he's a bread and butter. He's their number one receiver. I mean, look, I think it's a lot of things, guys. I think that the timing has been a bit off between him and Josh, and I think Josh has been a part of that. He missed him a few times against L.A. He missed him a few times against New England. I think the pass protection hasn't been as good the last couple of games, especially against New England. That causes the timing to be off. And I think, Stefon Diggs, he's 30 years old. He's played a ton of football. He's generally never misses a game. He's played a lot into the playoffs. Maybe catching up with him, wear and tear of a season, that his body, you want to get it right, and maybe it's not completely right there. He's not on the injury report. He does have a vet rest day every Friday. That said, if the Bills if Josh Allen hits them wide open, beating a man last week down the field for an 80-plus yard touchdown, we're probably not having this conversation because he has over 100 yards, a touchdown. Week before that, same thing when Josh underthrew him. So it is a bit of perception versus reality when it comes to that, because those big plays were being hit earlier in the year, and they haven't the last couple of weeks. But if they were, he'd have those same stat lines.
So, Sal, we know the glass half full on Monday morning, right? The Bills go into Miami. They win big Sunday night, or they just win, period. Boom, they're coming home, 2-seed, home games. The rest is history. But what about the glass half empty Monday morning in Buffalo? If they lose on Sunday and they miss the playoffs, they end up 10-7. What do you think the main storyline will be, and what will the focus be on for the offseason?
Yeah, we haven't thought about that, right? I mean, I just today, guys, sent an email out to people at my radio station, said, oh, by the way, if the Bills actually miss the playoffs, our whole Monday changes, because I don't know what the schedule is for locker cleanout and all of that, right? Like, I mean, we haven't thought about that, but it's true. It's amazing to think, like you said coming out of the break, that you can go from the 2 seed to be out if things don't fall your way, which is wild. Listen, if that happens, you're having a huge Sean McDermott conversation, because that's actually been going on this year amongst fans anyway. Now, I think Sean McDermott's an excellent football coach. I don't know if the Bills can find somebody better than Sean McDermott, but fans have been all season wondering, have they hit their ceiling with him? Can they go any farther with him? That would be the main conversation going into the offseason, and then you would get immediately to Stefon Diggs' future, Von Miller's future, Micah Hyde's future, Jordan Poyer's future. That's how everything would probably unfold pretty quickly.
Well, let's hope it doesn't get to that point. Again, Bills Dolphins Sunday night. He is Sal Capaccio of WGR down in Buffalo. Really appreciate it, Sal. Enjoy it Sunday night. We'll do it again down the road.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. There he is, Sal Capaccio. I understand that mentality. You don't want to look at that side of the coin, right? You don't even want to think.
Oh, interesting. You said Sean McDermott's not going anywhere a couple days ago. And
Feel validated, though?
Sal Carpaccio, he threw the goods at you right there. There's a Sean McDermott conversation.
Well,
maybe and Al's brother, by the way, thank you for throwing the tremendous information at Carpaccio.
That was outstanding. The 65%
snap count percentage. Wow.
Well, I was at the game and I was perplexed, like multiple third downs.
I know,
and not
but what are you
Stefon
taking
Diggs.
notes there? Most people are hammered.
No, but like then I
game.
get home and I'm like, okay, what was his snap count? And today, it's called prep work. Oh, I don't have to tell you. I'm looking. Look, it's no secret that Stefon Diggs his production is completely dried up. Anyone who's got him on
what's your
fantasy
gut
knows that
instinct
too.
telling you? Is there like a attitude problem they're sick of? They don't want to throw him the football. What do you think the deal is?
So I think it depends game to game. I think Sal's right where maybe it is a little perception, because like, if there was a go ball that he would have hit him on a 92-yarder, no one would have had this conversation. He would have been over 100 yards, a touchdown, and no one would have had that discussion. But I also look at the way that this team is starting to revamp their defense. Like since the offensive coordinator change, Diggs has gone down, like his production has dried up. Like he's been under 75 yards in every single game. And I think his snap usage is going down because they're just running the football. And they like Gabe Davis as a better run blocker than they do Stefon Diggs. So I think there's a multiple different, reasons for it. But it still, to me, is concerning because he's signed to be your number one guy, your go-to dude. And I know they're winning ball games. They're kind of winning them. They're sneaking out of ball games, though. Like, they've all been pretty close, where when Stefon Diggs is on his game and they're hitting those deep balls, like, they're blowing teams out like you saw happen earlier this season in Miami. So we'll see what ends up happening this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see Sunday night. And listen, I concede the fans don't love McDermott. There's a lot of Bills fans, and listen, I'm not his biggest fan either in terms of the way he approaches the offense. I don't think he's progressive whatsoever. He's got a rock star quarterback that I think he holds back. But as Sal also just said, he's won a ton of ball games, and even if they lose, they'll be 10-7. In Buffalo, I think that means he'll come back, and I think the GM supports him greatly. I think the owner supports him greatly, and the fans don't get to make a decision on whether or not the coach sticks around.
And the owner's quite tight with the wallet these days. So
Big time.
Pay another head coach?
Exactly.
I don't know about that.
Big time. So
why is old Jerry tight with the wallet these days?
I don't really get it either, because
No
the guy's like he's worth billions. Obviously, I mean,
he owns the Sabres and the Bills.
Yeah.
He's getting the new stadium funded, isn't he? Like, I don't know what is tight on the wallet mean?
Well, look at what he's done with the Sabres. Like, he let go a lot of people within the upper in the organization. They're kind of running on a pretty thin ship. I think you're probably going to see similar things happen with the Bills. I don't know if he's going to want to pay another coach another $15 million guaranteed to come in and coach, when, I mean, McDermott's done a good job. They haven't been able to finish it off, but if they get into the playoffs, like, this isn't even a conversation. But even if they miss, it's like, I mean, it's another good year.
$15 million?
10-7.
Well, if they have to get a new coach, they'd have to pay him quite a big contract.
McDermott, I don't think, would make $15 million.
No. But, I mean, it's guaranteed money. You're bringing in a new coach. You're going to have to pay him for more than 1 year. You're thinking a 3-4 year deal. It'll cost 15 sheets.
All right, Mike Johnson in about 15 minutes on the World Juniors coming to a conclusion. His take on the William Nylander conversation, the Leafs in San Jose tomorrow night. Luke Wilson still to come as well. Our friend Cheryl Pounder coming up, too, later this afternoon. And Dear Hazy B is back at 6:30. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. So I read that, I guess, Shaquille O'Neal's number is being retired by the Orlando Magic, so they're going to retire his number 32, which means only the Clippers and the Raptors do not have a retired number, which I guess that makes sense for the Clippers. Like, you think about their history, they never really had anyone that, like, stood out as, like, their go-to superstar. And, you know, the Raptors, I think most people expect they'll retire Lowry's number 7 at some point, maybe Carter 15, you know, and we'll see what happens in the future. Kawhi, I don't know. We don't have to get into that conversation now, but it's interesting that they're the only two teams without that. And, you know, I was thinking about that as I saw Doogie's text that down in Carolina, Vasily Ponomarev, or some, I think I'm butchering his name, Ponomarev, I'm not even going to try, will wear number 92 for the Carolina Hurricanes. The last time that number was worn was Jeff O'Neal in 03-04.
Oh.
That is so disappointing.
O-Dog, what's up?
I don't even know what to say about Ponomarev.
He should know better, though. Someone should get to him and say that number's off limits.
I don't know. I don't really care, but I just thought that he might take 91.
Mm-hmm. Go with 91. Go with 93.
Go with 91.
Yeah. Go find a different number. 92. That number's in the Raptors down there. There's a lot of pictures in the building.
Well, maybe he's an O'Neal fan. Like, it's possible that this is an homage to UO. It's not like he's a 92 born player.
You think so?
You think a guy named Ponomarev is an O-Dog fan? Give me a break.
You never know. He's from Moscow, Russia, maybe.
It doesn't matter anymore. There's all kinds of scenarios where you think a guy just wouldn't ask for a number. The trainer would say to him, maybe just go with a different number.
Well, it's a random number. Like, it makes sense to you.
But I thought it would just be a 91 for Ponomarev.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way it goes.
Ponomarev, man, that is disappointing. And, like, he played in the Q, right? So he's probably watched the show before. He played Shawinigan in the Q. I'm sure he got the show on TSN 4,
It's just like some of the kids in the World Juniors. That Ponomarev doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know.
it probably doesn't. I mean, he's Russian and he's 21, and you're not around the team anymore.
No.
Also,
but-
Loons played for us. Oh, I was hurt by that. He played. We were very happy out of that game with Tristan Luneau. And for him to say he didn't know who Jeff O'Neal was hurt me.
Yeah, he was
That
a
hurt
stud
me.
that night, that kid,
He was
too.
terrific. I
Man. Luneau
loved
was
him.
unreal. Yeah,
Yeah.
Noah Warren was really good. You guys had a great defense corps.
Yeah, Denton Matejchuk was on our team, too.
Yeah.
He's doing good things up in the show.
That's right. All right, hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Luke Wilson coming up. Dear Hazy B in a couple of hours. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.